100-man teams. One person, three-person teams. One person goes 100-meter sprint, 6 dumbbell box step overs, then 2 hold and push-up plank. Then we'll switch that.
How long did that take?
I take an AMRAP.
Well guys, first off, thank you so much for having me and Steph today. Obviously y'all know Stephanie. I know a few of y'all. Yes,
What's up?
I know a few. Yeah, Corona in the back there.
$12 more, man.
I love it, I love it. Anyways, guys, a little bit of background on me. I've been in the CrossFit space for like 5 or 6 years, 7 years, something like that now. I used to be at CrossFit Strong there. I was there for like 5 years. And recently I left and started this online nutrition coaching company. And very recently just brought Stephanie and went to the team. So, super excited for that and super excited to be able to talk to y'all today about nutrition. Basically, what we're going to go into today, guys, is, well, first, kind of what our mission is. Obviously, for all of y'all, there's so many diets out there right now, right? Just start throwing them out. Who's done paleo before? Whole30, keto, intermittent fasting, Atkins, blah, 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 right? So basically, there's a million different diets out there, and there's probably, if you've done any searches with nutrition on Google before, there's probably a million different people saying a million different things, right? I like to say it's basically what we pride ourselves on doing is filtering out the BS in the nutrition industry, and really like starting to teach y'all, what the actual science of nutrition is, and then all the different applications. There's all these different diets out here, right? They're just different tools. MyFitnessPal, logging your food, macros, all of that. These are all just tools that help us get where we want to be. Okay? So basically what our goal today is going to be is help educate y'all, give y'all some practical application when it comes to nutrition, help y'all kind of start to filter out some of the BS that you've heard out there, and in the CrossFit setting specifically teach y'all how to fuel yourself properly so that you feel, look, and perform good. Yeah? Cool. Alright guys, so I'm going to have Stephanie start us off here. We're going to go into basically nutrition is medicine, and then kind of into what some people might have heard of before, but that's the gut microbiome. So I'll let her take it away.
Okay guys, so I know most of y'all know me, but I do see like a lot of new faces. So for those that don't know me, my name is Stephanie, and I graduated 2 years ago with my degree in nutrition and minor in chemistry. So I really like this stuff, obviously. I'm just completing my first year with my master's in clinical nutrition, and just completed my dietetic internship. So I'll be taking my board exam soon to become a registered dietitian. So if you guys do know any registered dietitians, just know that it took a lot to get there. It's not very easy. So nutrition is medicine. This is something that when I first started my degree in nutrition, wasn't even a thought. I just kind of selfishly went into this degree more so I wanted to learn how to lose weight, so that's why I wanted to study it. It wasn't really for other people, to be honest. But as I started taking classes like medical nutrition therapy and nutrition biochemistry, things like that, I started learning oh my gosh, this stuff can really impact people. So the same way that nutrition can be medicine, it can also be the pitfall of chronic disease. And I'm sure everybody knows someone with type 2 diabetes, renal failure, hypertension, someone who's on dialysis. And the crazy thing is that all of these things can be prevented through nutrition. And a lot of it has to do with the gut microbiome. So does anybody know what the gut microbiome is? Go for it.
It's just a bacteria in your gut that promotes digestion, proper function of your majority of your immune system is in your gut.
Right. Do you know how much of the immune system is in your gut?
85%.
70%. It's really close. So back, in Jesus' time period, I think it was Hippocrates who said all disease originates in the gut, and that's mainly why, is because 70% of the immune system is found in the gut. So when we talk about all this bacteria that's in our gut, in our small intestine, in our colon, we're talking about probiotics and prebiotics. So does anybody know the difference between the two? A lot of people think they're the same thing, but they're not. No? Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so probiotics are probably what you've heard about mostly, which are all the bacteria that does all the beneficial stuff that Will was talking about. That promotes digestion. It has a lot to do with mood. There's a lot of new studies coming out now. There's like a brain-gut axis that communicates directly that really just stimulates the kind of mood you're in, things like that. And then probiotics. So these are stuff that can all be consumed. So probiotics are the bacteria that do that. So now prebiotics are like the food for the probiotics. So does anybody know where we can get probiotics from?
Yogurt.
Yogurt's one of them. Probably just another one.
Cheating. I feel like I heard this one.
Oh, probably. Yeah, kimchi is another one. Anybody went to that Chinese place this past Saturday? Some of y'all probably consumed one of them. Not too big. What was it?
Sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut's one. I was looking for miso soup. That's another one that has probiotics. Seaweed, the seaweed salad they have at the sushi restaurant, that's rich in probiotics. You can also grow them. But the prebiotics, do y'all know where you get those from? So you want to have a lot of those as well.
Spinach.
There's some spinach. So it's mainly going to be in a lot of vegetables. A lot of the good ones are found in cruciferous vegetables. So cruciferous vegetables are the ones that are like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, onions, leeks, things like that, kind of the ones that give you like gas. So the reason they give you gas is because they're found in the prebiotic fiber in the vegetables and they colonize in the colon. So that's usually why like if you eat a lot of broccoli or a lot of Brussels sprouts, whatever, you kind of have some foul gas. That's why. It's because that prebiotic fiber is colonizing in the colon. So back to the whole nutrition as medicine thing. There's a lot of things that are still not even discovered. There's something called phytochemicals in vegetables and fruit, a lot of other things too, that have a lot of like anti-cancer properties. Like there's a phytochemical called phylls in cruciferous vegetables that are actually proven now that they detoxify carcinogens. Things like that. Like all these things that like nobody's talking about. Nobody's talking about these phytochemicals. Like they're briefly mentioned in studies, but they're not being like solidified out there. Not like how, you know, you see a lot of these commercials for different medications that will cure IBS, but nobody's talking about the probiotics or the phytochemicals that can cure IBS. And I think the reason behind that is just because all this stuff isn't really glamorous. Like nobody likes to talk about eating vegetables, nobody likes to talk about eating fruit. Like everybody wants to know what the new medication is, what the new supplement is in the industry, when really we already have all the answers we need. So that's a little bit about nutrition as medicine. So usually when I'm looking at someone's diet or their nutrition protocol, the calories that they're eating, kind of start out with calories. Does anybody know what a calorie is? What does it measure? Will?
It's the amount of energy required to raise a certain amount of water 1 degree.
That was really specific. So I was looking for a unit of energy. Yes, you got it. So a calorie is just a unit of energy. That's all it is. And there's something called the basic metabolic rate. So that's really like, and it differs between everybody. It's going to be different from male to female. Women's usually have like a 5 to 10% decrease in basic metabolic rate, which is why we eat less. It has a lot to do with body composition, age, height. So that's just like your baseline of how many calories do I need to live. And there's a lot of government organizations that have determined that value to be 1,200 calories for most people. So that's why if you guys see like any sort of website and they're like, you know, how to lose weight fast, it might indicate you to a 1,200 calorie diet, and that's why. But the thing is like, you're not just living, like you might be doing CrossFit, you might be taking your dogs out to walk, which is going to require calories. There's also something called thermic energy of food, which is how much calories does your body need in order to even digest food. That takes up calories. So when you put yourself on something like a 1,200 calorie diet, you're going to be at a huge deficit off of that. So really, you look at that first, like I said, based on all these different factors, and then you add in your physical activity factor, which is like how many times do you do CrossFit, how many workouts are you doing when you go to do CrossFit, and go based off of there. And so a lot of people, I feel like, get wrapped up in counting calories, and although it is important, like measure, sometimes it's not the whole picture, and that's what I try to teach people, is like, if you say you're supposed to be eating 2,000 calories a day, and you go over about like 300 calories, like it's okay. 300 calories at this point is just like a snack. So it's not the end of the world if you go under, you go over by, you know, a little bit. And then we go into macros. So can everybody tell me what 3 macros are? Okay, heard them all. So fat, protein, and carbs. Which one is the most important one? Fat. Okay, so everybody looks a little confused. So that was a trick question. They're all important. They're all very important. You go, I heard from 2 places. Okay, so if they're all important, then why do you guys think that there's so many diets out there that are trying to eliminate or eradicate one completely? It's an easy way. I think it's an easy way to sell you something because someone's like, oh, if I'm going to eliminate fat, that must be the answer. Or if I'm going to eliminate carbs, that must be the answer. But really, they're all important. And the reason why is because they all have different metabolic functions. So carbohydrates are going to be the primary fuel source that your body's going to run off of. Do you guys know what other macro your body can run off of? Fat is specifically what form? No. It's a really popular thing right now. Ketones, there you go. So fat can be converted into ketone bodies, which is a whole entire metabolic pathway within itself that I will not explain right now. So it can run off carbs, it can run off ketones. And so the reason why it can run off of those 2 things is because the brain will primarily accept carbs as your fuel source. So if there's carbs available, that's what it's going to take first. If you starve the body from carbs, then fat will turn into ketone bodies, and ketone bodies are the only other thing that can cross the blood-brain barrier in order to fuel your brain. But if you guys kind of just like think about it, if your body is going to take up carbs first and it chooses to take up carbs first, wouldn't you think that that's a better fuel source for your body if that's what it prefers? So really, we can talk about like the keto diet, you know, doing Q&A or something. So carbs have that main function. They also give energy to your cells through glycolysis, through the TCA cycle, et cetera, et cetera. And then when you're in your workout, since we're doing high intense workouts here at CrossFit, carbs are going to be your main fuel source for that as well. So does anybody know the difference between simple and complex carbs? What? Yes, which one? Right. So simple carbs break down quicker than complex carbs. So complex carbs are usually going to be richer in fiber because that helps your blood sugar kind of be regulated a little bit more. So when do you guys think we would want to have the simple carbs? Before workouts, after workouts, right? Because we want to deplete that glycogen storage really, really fast. So carbs are going to equal 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate. That's just like the general measure. Protein also has 4 kcals per gram. Yes?
Can you give me examples of some simple carbs before workouts?
Yeah. So simple carbs before workout, a lot of fruit is going to be good. Any like white rice, a lot of white stuff is going to be good. I don't recommend to have like white bread or anything like that before workout. But your fruit is probably going to be like the best source to do that. So if you just look at the fiber content, a lot of the things, you're going to want things with the lowest amount of fiber, like less than 3 grams of fiber. Yes?
So maybe one question. Is there a difference nutritionally between white and brown rice?
Yes. So that has a lot to do with the anatomy of the bran of the rice. So for a lot of athletes, if you're going to, it kind of depends on when you're going to have it. So if you're going to have white rice, like after workout, I have white rice just because it's going to absorb quicker. But if you're going to have like rice in the middle of the day when you're not workout, maybe have some brown rice. But as far as like nutritionally from a macro standpoint, no, they don't have any difference. The only thing is that they're just absorbed at a different rate because brown rice is complex and the other one's simple. That's fine. So with protein, the big thing that protein does is that it has a lot to do with your DNA. Has a lot of regulations with your DNA, and then it also acts as enzymes. So that has to do with a lot of different pathways as well. So protein also has to do with muscle building, and I think that a lot of athletes specifically think that they're eating enough protein and they might not be. So like a specific way to calculate out that protein is just easily 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And if you guys look anywhere online, like at the Academy of Nutrition Dietetics, they really lowball protein. Like my protein requirements are like 56 grams of protein, which is like maybe 8 ounces of chicken or something like that. So it's really low. But as an athlete, you guys are going to want to have more protein. You're obviously breaking down protein when you're working out. And then fat is the backbone of your hormones, it's the backbone of cholesterol. It also has to do with a lot of your plasma membrane. And then the big thing is that fat actually makes up 60% of your brain. So that's another reason why I tell people not to eliminate fat. So a little story back when I was in this whole I want to learn how to lose weight thing, I just didn't think that I think everybody does, and I took out fat completely. And don't get me wrong, I lost weight, obviously, because I was in a caloric deficit, but a lot of other things started happening to me. I lost my menstrual cycle, that was one. And then I also started losing my hair, which is crazy. Like my hair was starting to fall out, and then my skin tone started getting like really pale. Obviously, I had no energy. So although I did lose weight, and I mean, at my height, I'm 5'9", and I got down to like 142 pounds at my lowest, which is really, I mean, I'm like 160 pounds now. So I was 142 pounds back then. So it was, I mean, like I said, like I lost weight, but at what expense? Like obviously no girl wants to lose their hair. So, and it was crazy because once I started eating well again, it like started getting, it was a lot stronger. So there's a lot of manifestations with nutrition that way too. But with fat, so fat's gonna provide the most kcals per gram. So the other two were 4, and then fat is 9 kcals per gram. And then with fat, does anybody know what one fat you're not supposed to eat?
Trans fat.
Okay, trans fat. What's the other one that people think you're not supposed to eat?
Saturated.
Okay, everybody knew that one. So the saturated fat dilemma was debunked a couple of years ago by a study called the Blenheim Heart Study. You guys are welcome to look at it, especially if you're in the medical field or a nurse. It was based off of a study of nurses. So it's really long and interesting. But that dilemma was, like I said, debunked. Although you guys will see a lot of things out there that still say that saturated fat is bad for you. And that would require me to like really go into like the chemistry of things like on a whiteboard and show you guys why not. But like I said, you guys are free to look at that study and kind of look at the research for yourself. I always tell people like go do your own research. I mean, don't let people tell you what you believe. Go research it for yourself. So, and then the last one, oh wait, we have micros. So micros are going to be all your vitamins, B vitamins, vitamin C, and then your fat-soluble vitamins. So the one I really want to touch on here is going to be B vitamins. So there's 2 populations that are at huge risk of vitamin B deficiency. Can anybody guess what 2 populations those are? Not the elderly, but that's a good guess. Not babies. One of them you guys guessed, but the other one's going to be really difficult. One of them you guys might be doing tonight.
Beer drinkers.
Drinkers.
No.
Alcoholics.
Eaters.
Woo! Okay, so alcoholism is one. We'll drink alcohol. What's the other one? Not smokers. It's a good guess though.
Athletes.
There you go. Athletes. So,
Only both. Oh, thank God.
yeah, how do you go?
Yeah, the rest of the gym. Thanks, guys, for helping out.
So, can anybody guess why athletes are at the highest rate of vitamin B deficiency? That's a part of it. Think a little bit deeper. I mean, what are we doing? We're working out. What does that require? It requires energy. So B vitamins are coenzymes for all those energy processes. So what's your body doing? It's using them up, it's using them up, it's using them up. So since we're the population where B vitamins are constantly using up, we need them the most. Well, guess where you get B vitamins from?
Not drinking. Right.
Not drinking.
So you get them from vegetables and fruit. And the thing that I know the most is that athletes tend to really not under-eat on their vegetables and fruit when we're the ones who need them the most. So think about it. You have an athlete who doesn't eat vegetables, doesn't eat fruit, and then they also drink all the time. So how how can one be expected to fuel their workouts if they're not fueling those metabolic processes correctly? So that's why I try to stress so much on vegetables, because you can't overeat them. I mean, like, it would take so much effort to overeat broccoli. Like, I don't know how much broccoli you have to eat in order to overeat broccoli, or until you're like uncomfortable and just super bloated. So that's the one I wanted to stress the most, is B vitamins and athletes. And I know, like, some of you guys might be thinking, well, why don't I just go buy like the B complex at the store and then I'm good, I'm cured. Well, really, like, the thing is that all these vegetables already come in a synergistic way of B vitamins, because they all like need each other for the other one. Like, thiamine needs riboflavin in order to be in the TCA cycle properly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, like, the great thing about God, what He did, is like all these vegetables are already created in the way we need them. So why go buy like a B complex when that's not in the amounts that we need them? Plus, vegetables are a lot cheaper. So that's another thing too. And then hydration. So that one's just really quick. I mean, obviously water, especially since it's so hot right now and we're sweating so much, especially in the summertime. So the big thing I wanted to touch about on hydration is that a lot of people think that they're hungry sometimes when they just ate, when really you just kind of need to drink some water. It's really easy to become dehydrated. Like, I feel it right now. I remember a professor once told me that once you start feeling that you're dehydrated, you're already like really dehydrated. And if you're ever concerned about like that you're super dehydrated, there's just a little skin trick you can do. So if you pull up your skin, see how mine just goes straight down? That means I'm hydrated to an extent. But if you pull it up and it kind of just like stays and wrinkles there, you're dehydrated. And it might get to a point where like you might need to seek, medical attention or something like that. But that's the easiest way to tell if you're like at a medical point of being dehydrated. But like I said, if you kind of start feeling that you're dehydrated, you're already at a point. So yeah, I'll take that.
Awesome job. Hey, 2 points I want to touch on. Guys, 2 points I want to touch on with her. I don't know if y'all noticed this, but when she was talking about doing a low-fat diet, losing menstrual cycle, losing hair, you see the little puckering a little bit, the tears that were we laugh, but I cannot tell you how many clients I work with that have gone through the same exact thing. Whether they're coming from more of like the physique crowd, like bikini competitors, physique competitors, that type of thing, or just somebody that has been following a low-fat diet, or somebody that has been overtraining and under-eating for too long of a time. But I see it all the time. There'll be people that'll come to me that haven't had a menstrual cycle in 5, 6, 7 months. There's people that come and they have all the symptoms that she just mentioned, plus more, and they have no idea that anything's wrong with them whatsoever. So it is a very real thing, and if anybody's experienced that before, like, definitely make sure that you talk to somebody about that. The other point I wanted to touch on with that protein recommendation, she said 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. If you're an individual that is overweight and you have a lot of body weight to lose, let's say for instance you're 300 pounds. If I'm 300 pounds, we won't actually go 300 grams of protein in that situation. We would actually look into like muscle mass versus fat mass, right? And take that muscle mass number. So whatever, if you went to like DexaFit, got a DEXA scan done, they're gonna show you how many pounds are muscle and how many pounds are fat, right? So we just go off that muscle number and do 1 gram of protein per pound of muscle in that situation. Cool. Any other questions on what she went over? I know she covered a lot.
Actually,
Yes.
I have one.
Sir.
Eating fruit before a workout to get that boost. What's the right time frame to have banana on it?
I would say about 30 minutes longer.
30 minutes before you actually start the workout?
Yeah, and you're gonna wanna like play with different fruits, because I know, like you mentioned banana, like bananas don't sit well with some people before workouts. I really like to recommend citrus fruits, so watermelon, grapes, orange, mandarins, just because those tend to be really high in electrolytes and they have some water content, and they don't sit heavy on you. Bananas can sometimes sit kind of heavy. So citrus fruits, in my opinion, are the best ones.
Okay. For this group here, when we come here, we do the warm up, and we hang out for 5 to 10 minutes, then we do the hardcore workout. So 30 minutes before we start class, or 30 minutes before we anticipate starting an actual walk?
I think a lot of it's going to just be basically individual.
Yeah.
Because from a digestive perspective, like, you know, like y'all could all try to go have a piece of fruit 30 minutes before your workout, and for half of y'all it might work great, for half of y'all might need to push it back even a little farther before. So it's gonna go from like a digestive standpoint. You should come into your workout feeling like a little bit hungry. You shouldn't come into your workout feeling like stuffed by any means. Not starving either, but just a little bit of
I have one more question. You're talking about the cruciferous vegetables. Charles and his family gets kidney stones. I get kidney stones. You get kidney stones, broccoli, asparagus, avocado, Brussels sprouts. Those are forbidden? No, absolutely not. So what are some alternatives to broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus?
So I would go with leafy green vegetables. And I'll talk to you about this individually, but
red leaf lettuce.
yeah, you're gonna want to probably look at the other colored vegetables, but it's really gonna depend a lot on what kind of stone you had. Because if it wasn't a calcium oxalate stone, it was okay. Then yeah, those are the ones that you're gonna want to avoid. So we have to look at all the low oxalate vegetables, and those are gonna be a lot of the different colored ones. You could probably, yeah, I do. I have them in the book, so I'll do.
Are other colored vegetables not as potent? Like, I love cauliflower and I hate broccoli.
Oh, they're all potent. Like there is like not one bad vegetable I can say is out there. I'm not a big fan of like iceberg lettuce, but other than that, if you love cauliflower and hate broccoli, you love cauliflower for sure. Yeah.
Cheese.
Cheese isn't a vegetable, but there could be always a compromise.
Alright guys, cool, so we'll pick up from there. So the next piece I want to go into is, you know, she referenced like being an athlete a lot, and in my opinion, everybody that does CrossFit is somewhat of an athlete. I mean, this isn't like taking selfies in between exercises at 24-hour fitness. Like this is a pretty tough workout majority of the time. So, but what I want to talk on is basically going into CrossFit as a fitness regimen versus CrossFit as like a performance sport. Okay? Because a lot of the times, like when you start to look into like a regular CrossFit box, the people that are coming in maybe doing three class workouts a week or 5 class workouts a week, something like that. Like that's using CrossFit as like a training regimen, right? As a fitness regimen. Once you start looking into like Stephanie or like back in the day when I used to be really fit too and eating, that's a whole different thing. Like athletes that are competing at regionals, going to the games, or even those that are doing like the local competitions, the way that they fuel themselves versus the way that like somebody that's just doing maybe 3 class workouts a week, it's just going to be a little bit different, especially when we start talking like supplementation and things like that. But I think the big piece that like we've got to make sure that we address is when you start looking into like, especially like from a calorie standpoint, like that regular person that's coming in here 3 days a week versus the regional games competitor, like if you start to look into some of these athletes at the CrossFit games, like no joke, they're taking in like 500, 600, 700 grams of carbohydrates a day. So I don't know if any of y'all have ever like tracked your macros before, but most of y'all probably aren't going even half that, or even close to that, right? So it's just having an understanding of like, you know, what your needs are here in the gym, and then also what your needs are like as an athlete. How many people compete like in CrossFit here, like in competitions? 2, 3, 4. What? Do any of y'all that compete? Do y'all have like specific questions on the competition side of things? Anything that y'all thought up or came across your mind, especially like the fact that keto is the most popular diet in the world right now, and there's some competitors trying to do keto in a CrossFit setting. And if you think back to what Stephanie said, what's the #1 fuel source for CrossFit being a glycolytic fitness regimen? Carbohydrates. So if I do keto and I remove basically the #1 macro that we need for CrossFit, obviously you're going to start to have a host of problems. So I won't dive into that too much, but really I just wanted to kind of touch on what the difference in that is. I would say the biggest piece is going to be in the supplementation, because in order for these athletes to get to these high numbers of carbohydrates, they are supplementing with like a cyclic dextrose carbohydrate powder. So instead of doing like just a protein shake after your workout, well, because you did CrossFit, now they're actually adding in a carbohydrate source to that as well, okay? So basically, it's not just, you know, she mentioned on like muscle glycogen, but another big piece too is that CrossFit is very, very, very much so a sympathetic nervous system sport, right? So when you start to think to yourself, like that fight or flight mode that you're in during the CrossFit workouts, like think about Fran, for instance. Really fast, really quick. The cortisol, that stress hormone, that thing is jacked way up, right? You're in that sympathetic state, you're in that fight or flight state. Okay, it's as if like your kid just got stuck under a car and you have to go up and pick up the car to get your kid out. Like it would probably happen like maybe one time in your whole entire life, right? To be able to get up the adrenaline, get up the cortisol to be able to do something like that. And so when we start thinking about the workout, if my cortisol is up right when I get done with the workout, just because the 15-minute AMRAP was over, that doesn't make your body go from sympathetic to parasympathetic. So parasympathetic is that rest and digest, right? So let's say for instance, like you work out at night. If you come in here at night and you work out and then you don't have carbohydrates after your workout, it's gonna be really hard for you to shut off that cortisol response, right? So how you turn off that cortisol valve is with insulin. Okay, insulin coming from those carbohydrates. So when I get done with my workout, not only are we looking to have protein, but we need those carbohydrates to help us as well with just recovery and being able to go from that stress state at night to that rest and digest and then be able to fall asleep easy.
What would you recommend to have after a workout as far as training?
For competitors or just anybody in general? I mean, I think the biggest piece for competitors is actually doing a post-workout shake after that has not just protein but also carbohydrates. And so like cyclic dextrose powder is probably, I won't go into it, but it's like the lowest molecular weight. It's supposedly supposed to be absorbed the fastest. So that, and then so like 25 grams of carbohydrate like cyclic dextrin plus the protein, and then from there have like that post-workout meal. Now we're looking at what she was talking about, fill up half your plate with maybe a quarter of your plate, like vegetables, quarter of your plate starch, and then whatever your protein and portion size is for you as an individual. Yeah. So.
What about oatmeal?
Oatmeal? I don't have a problem with, I guess I'll preface it with this. Most of the time when you ask about like, what about oatmeal, or what about potatoes, or what about bread, or this or that, for me, it's just like, it just depends on you and you and you and you and you. For me to like make a blanket statement to say oatmeal's bad or oatmeal's good, it just depends on the person. For some people, oatmeal might be the worst thing in the world. And for other people, it might be just fine.
Are you referring to oatmeal for a post-workout?
Yes.
Yeah, so oats have a lot of fiber in them. So they're not going to be absorbed as quickly as say like for something. So I probably wouldn't do oats for a post-workout ideally. If you wanted to include it like in that post-workout meal after you've had simple carbs, like within 2 hours after, then that would make more sense. But something that you guys probably see me all do is like right after I do my workout, I always put coconut water in my protein shake because one, it makes it taste really good. And two, it has a lot of carbs. I think like every time it's like 30 grams of carbs or something like that. And it's just the easiest way, like I'll never forget it, and it's easier than bringing for me. So that's what I found that always works for me. So that's what I always do.
I think looking in, like making sure that we understand here, like post-workout and then post-workout. So when we're talking about these competitors, right, we're talking about within maybe 15, 30 minutes after that workout, you have that shake. The cyclic dextrose powder, that's what's being absorbed really fast. And then 2 to 3 hours after that, that post-workout meal, that's what we're going into. I mean, I don't know what your opinion is. I think in that post-workout meal, like, I'm just looking for some type of like starchy carbohydrate in there. Yes, throw in the vegetables too, but as far as something that's being absorbed really quick, that's based on like recovery. So when people ask like, do I really need a shake? Do I need a post-workout shake? If you're just general population and you're not having any issues with like recovering from workouts, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of up to you. I think that like at the end of the day, if you're not doing everything right and eating good quality whole foods, then supplementation is something to look into like a little later on. Sir.
On the other side of that coin, for those of us that go and like do a 7 o'clock class, we work out 7 to 8, we get home 8:30, and we don't go probably to make dinner at that point. And then I find myself kind of wired.
Yeah. So everybody hear that? That wired state at night, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like the only way to turn that wired state off is with that post-workout meal. Like if you don't include carbohydrates in that meal, it's gonna be extremely hard for you to settle down and be able to not, like, I don't know if any of y'all have ever had this before, but laying in bed, so this is like cortisol issues that we're talking about. Like if you look into somebody that, like they try to go to sleep at night and they just can't shut off their mind, right? They're just sitting there tossing and turning, or they're waking up several times throughout the night. Like, they're probably having some type of issue with one, either maybe under eating for their whole entire day, or issues with pre and post workout nutrition, or they could just be stressed too. Like, let's not forget about that.
So some recommendations on that would be, again, more just get those carbs in your system at your dinner.
Yeah.
You make some rice, make some potatoes or something to kind of shut that down.
I mean, if you're somebody that's working out a lot and you're having issues with being able to settle down with just that meal, and you're not doing that post-workout shake, I would say do that shake, and then that will help. But yeah, just both of those combined, really.
Cool.
Are you doing like shakes now after it?
No, I was just thinking like for the broader population.
For the broader population, for most people, just within 2 to 3 hours after your workout, make sure you get that post-workout meal in. Make sure that in this setting, carbohydrates and protein. I know a lot of people are like, back in the day, it's like protein, protein, protein. Yes, we need protein, but in this CrossFit setting, in this glycolytic setting, in this high-intensity exercise setting, we need carbohydrates as well. So just be sure to include both of those. Yes, sir.
What thoughts on timing eating? Like some nights with me or Kyle, the coach until 8. I'm closer now, but I was getting home at 8:45. I eat dinner at 9. And then I always have to shake for a bit. Is there a time I should cut that off? Or, I mean, what is people even going past this time?
To be honest with you, I think eating late at night makes you fat, eating carbs at night makes you fat, blah, 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 blah. All those things that people say are complete BS in my opinion. I think that like unless you have an issue with like digest, like if you're eating too close to going to bed and you're not be able to fall asleep because of like a digestive issue, maybe that, but like I would never ever ever stress out about, oh my god, it's too late at night, I can't eat. Like I can't tell you how many people come to me and they work out at night and then they don't have a post-workout meal because they think it's too late at night to eat a post-workout meal. I promise you, you're doing way more harm for you than good if you're skipping that post-workout meal at night. So I would say, whatever works best for your schedule. If you have that drive home, I'd say like, you get done, well you're not working out, that's just coaching and then go and eat. So, go home and enjoy your day.
I do. I don't want to change.
No, I mean it's a very real thing though. Like I have that question all the time because it's something it's one of those myths that has been said for such a long time, you know. So I'm sure I've heard it a million times before. So okay, cool. So supplements. I don't want to go super deep into this. Really, what I just want to touch on is like no different than the quality of food that y'all eat, where you source your foods from. It's the same thing with supplements, guys. Like at the end of the day. Like, I really don't care what anybody says. Like, not all supplements are created equal. Like, not all protein supplements are created equal. Going to, like, Walmart or CVS and picking up your multivitamin or your fish oil versus, like, a really high-quality source, like, it's just not the same. It truly isn't. It's almost like if you go and do the comparison of, like, go buy frozen bag chicken from Walmart and then go over here to Whole Foods and buy fresh chicken, put it on the table next to each other, just look at it, then cook them both and taste them. And then hit one of us up and just let me know what y'all's opinion was. I promise you, and it's the same thing with protein supplements too. Like, I'm not gonna name names, but there's so many like protein supplements out there that, like, I'm not even kidding, they will charge twice the amount for a very bad quality protein. Like if you start looking into the ingredient list, you start looking at like what different type of proteins are, right? If you look into the ingredient list, a lot of the times it'll be like maybe a blend, right? So you'll see maybe a whey protein isolate, but you'll also see a whey protein concentrate, right? That concentrate, that's gonna probably be like, that would be what I would compare as like the lowest quality of protein. So if you start to look into like just a whey protein isolate, if you look on the ingredient list versus a whey protein concentrate, that would be the example of like high quality protein source versus low quality protein source. You also have to look into the ingredient list and just in general. I know some protein powders you'll look into and you'll see maybe like 50 ingredients in there. And so it's like, why are there all these fillers in there? You know, why are all these things in there other than what whey protein isolate that I'm looking for, right? Of course you're gonna have things in there like sweeteners and that's kind of up in the air in terms of like stevia versus all these different sugars and sweeteners up there. But I think at the end of the day, just make sure that if you are buying supplements, one, let's make sure that we're doing everything else right before we even go down that route. And then from there, just make sure you like do your own research. Like she said, you know, don't trust me or her, don't trust any of us. Like, do your own due diligence. Go out there, like, make an educated decision. Make sure that you're actually researching on these supplements, and then just make the best decision that you can. I would just make sure that you don't just say, oh well, you know, I'm gonna try this because of the marketing, right? There's so much marketing out there, and so I would just say, make sure you pick a good quality product. Okay, cool. Next piece on the, as far as the hormone side of things. So, yes sir. Krill oil versus fish oil. Krill oil, also algae oil.
Okay, so with the krill oil versus fish oil thing, the whole argument is that krill oil is absorbed faster, but because it's part of like the phospholipid of the omega or whatever. The thing is that.
By the way, guys, I went to TWU and studied nutrition as well, but she did obviously RD. I didn't go down that route, so her medical nutrition, like, I'm just like, oh, I'm just like sitting here and just kind of like listening to this. I don't even want to go that deep.
I won't go that deep with that supplement, but you are going to spend more money on krill oil for no good reason.
If it's the same price.
If it's the same price, then you need to look at the DHA and EPA quantity. So when you're looking at the benefits of fish oil, it's going to be your EPA and DHA. They're like the anti-inflammatory things. So a lot of fish oils or krill oils out there will put on their bottle 1,000 milligrams of fish oil. If you look at the back, it's going to say like 150 DHA, 150 EPA. It's 300 total, right? Well, you're telling me I'm going to get 1,000. Well, the other 700 is going to be another line that's going to say like something else like fish oil. And that could be whatever. That could be ALA, that could be anything else that's not going to be the DHA and EPA that you're looking for. So if they are the same price, then look at the back and make sure that as much as what they're claiming on the bottle is fish oil is EPA and DHA. Because you would be surprised how many companies I have found that don't do that. So one that I know that does do that for sure is Nordic Naturals, and you can find that like at Sprouts, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Natural Grocers, any of those. That one's the one that I have found that's the most that is true to it. I know that Justin's a fan of Thorn Research, they're an online company. So either of those two would probably be the best. But as far as like the whole krill oil versus fish oil thing, I mean, you're probably going to be wasting your money. So I know a lot of the krill oils tend to be uppriced. So that's my opinion on it.
Since we're on that topic, as far as like amount of fish oil recommended, I read an article, like, I mean, everyone says different things.
Yeah.
So typically for us, for our population athletes, typically like one pill, one certain amount, so if you are reaching 1,000, that isn't necessarily enough for us, especially like the microdamage we do for our bodies every day, or like inflammatory reasons. Yeah, like in Victor's posted an article, it says, I calculated my weight and everything in it, said like 15,000 milligrams of fish oil a day.
That's absurd.
So, no, I know. And I feel like their lowest calculation.
That sounds fishy.
Yeah.
Like mine, I did.
I didn't say that earlier, Will.
That's ridiculous. That's 15 pills a day.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So I did my undergrad research paper on fish oil supplementation in athletes. The reason I did that is because the owner of CrossFit NAC, where we came out of, had a whole bunch of fish oil all day, every day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if he's like really absorbing all of this. I did not find one study that supported consuming more than 2 to 3 milligrams of fish oil a day. Like, all of them didn't show any absorption rate that would go past that. So for athletes, I mean, I would say take up to like at the most 3 grams. That was the highest absorption rate I've ever found for fish oil.
Okay.
So 15,000 milligrams, I mean, I have no...
3 per day.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of that is probably being excreted in your feces. Yeah.
And then I've also heard like the idea of like basically you can pack on as much as you want, and as soon as you realize that you don't have like your fat content like you're taking is ridiculously high, but as soon as you start to realize that your stools are floating now, you're almost like just excreting extra fat, so then it's be back down.
Yeah, so yeah, if your stool is floating, that's called steatorrhea. and that is some sort of indication of fat malabsorption. So if that is happening to you, please come talk to a medical professional. Even come talk to me. That's definitely some sort of issue, either with your pancreas or you're consuming way too much fish oil or something like that. So that is definitely not okay.
Hopefully you're going to beat
No.
Takeaway for the day.
That's the one thing they just learned.
Y'all remember that. Awesome, guys. Okay, so hormones, obviously neither one of us are doctors here, but I think hormones are a very real thing. They're starting to be talked about a lot more. There's an amazing company out there called Everlywell that I use now with any and all clients that we work with that need to get testing done. It's super easy. They literally send the testing to you, you do it at your house, you ship it back, you get your results back in 5 days. So literally they made the process super easy. Everlywell, so Everlywell. So they have like a series of all these different testing in there, right? So there's like a men's health test, there's a women's health test, you can do food sensitivity testing, you can test just specifically like testosterone or DHEA or cortisol or any of these hormones, you get your thyroid test, whatever it may be. And what's cool about them also is you go down and so you look at these tests and you look at the symptom list, okay? And so a lot of these times like there's some people that will elicit all of these symptoms, and then that will be something that will prompt us to maybe look into getting testing. But there's also people that don't elicit any symptoms at all. And so again, like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because the approach is always going to be nutrition, lifestyle, exercise first. And then from there, you can start looking into, there's herbal supplementation routes. That's going to be more of like your functional medicine doctor. And then you can also look, obviously there's hormone replacement therapy. Now you're talking more of like endocrinologists and things like that. So I'm not going to go into it super deep. All I'll say is that if you think that you're doing all the right things from a nutrition, lifestyle, exercise standpoint the majority of the time, and you're eliciting symptoms of any kind, like that would be a great company to go in and look, or talk to any of us, but go in there and look at that symptom list, and that, like based on those symptoms, that will allow you to kind of look in to see maybe what testing you might need to get done. Obviously you can go through your doctors as well, but this is something that if you are somebody that wants to look more into a natural way to go about it first, that might be a better route for you. Most of the people I work with, almost every single time that they go to their doctor, like their doctor's first move is hormone replacement therapy. Their last move is nutrition and lifestyle exercise, right? Just like all the other medication, a lot of the times that we see. So before you hop on hormone replacement therapy, all I would say is definitely look into some other options first. Do, like we said before, do your due diligence, like educate yourself. Make sure that you look through all of your options before you just jump right into something. Okay. Cool. And then from there, so going into nutrient timing, we kind of touched on this a little bit. When we start to look at nutrient timing, most of the time people are looking into, they're asking about pre and post workout nutrition. So I know we just kind of touched on this earlier. Very general recommendation, I typically say like 2 to 3 hours before your workout, try to get in protein and carbohydrate meal. 2 to 3 hours after your workout, try to get in a protein and carbohydrate meal. Then people ask, they say, well, what happens if I work out in the morning? I say, well, you have to get up at 2 a.m. Just kidding. What I say is treat dinner the night before as your pre-workout. And everyone's like, oh, I never even thought of that. So think to yourself, like if you're somebody that works out 5 a.m., 6 a.m., the night before, that dinner is actually going to act more of your pre-workout as your pre-workout meal. Okay? And so have carbs and protein in that meal, wake up in the morning, go into that workout fasted, get done with the workout, have the shake if you want it, or within 2 to 3 hours after that workout, have that post-workout meal, carbs and protein. Okay? Is that pretty general recommendation, but does everybody kind of get what they're looking to do, in general here in terms of pre and post-workout nutrition? Cool. Awesome.
I have a question. What about, like if you do a competition on a day, like you're
Multiple events.
Multiple workouts, so like 2 hours after one workout is actually like right before another workout.
Sure. And that's where supplementation will come into play too. Like that's when it's great. And that's when like multi-day event or events in a day, that's when you'll start looking into, okay, if I have an event at 10 a.m. and I have another event at 11:30, well, good luck trying to go eat real food, whole foods after that meal. Like, you're gonna feel sick, you're gonna probably throw up when you go into the next workout, like, good luck. So that's where we have a shake. We can do a protein carbohydrate shake right after. If you like, what she does with like the coconut water, I think it's phenomenal. It's a much more natural way. I promise you that's better than going and getting a carbohydrate powder like the cyclic dextrose powder. So for the majority of y'all, like that would be something that I think is actually much better than going out and getting one of these supplements. But if you are an athlete and you need to do something, if you're competing all the time, then yeah, getting on some type of, like Extreme Endurance has like a Fuel 5 product. There's so many different like carbohydrate powders, but 1 scoop protein, 1 scoop carb, and then again that will just depend on you and your digestive system. But that should be fine to be able to go into that next workout like an hour, 90 minutes later.
So coconut water is pretty
So something that, so I just came back from regionals in Utah, and we only had about, if this, 90 minutes in between our workouts. For me, I knew that wasn't enough to digest protein, because protein is going to digest slower than carbs are. So what I had was a packet of honey, and that was it. I mean, I think that packet of honey was like 30 grams of carbs. It was like the quickest thing to get down into my stomach in between events. So even if it's something that's small, like I said, I mean, I don't take like the dextrose powder. I usually try to get like food in. So I did like having honey, and that's like steaks to eat. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Any other questions on nutrient time?
Throwing this out there. So insulin spike is something that I usually regulate, and I usually use honey, but I see a lot of athletes that take it before they work out as well to like, I guess they're not like the cell wall. I don't see what the benefit of doing that before working out to great about that.
Consuming honey before workout?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
spiking the glycogen sugar workout.
I think it's more of just for like the sugar energy source, like, that's readily available, just to go ahead and get in your blood system. I wouldn't think of anything about, insulin spiking for it, for that matter.
I think that's super old school bodybuilding, because I used to hear that all the time too.
Oh yeah.
But I think they've kind of debunked that in the research over the last 10 years.
Yeah, probably not there.
Something like that. No, that brought up a really good point though. I just blinked on it. Anyways, okay, cool. So let's go into, we'll start to kind of go into like the assessment and then application piece of things here. So when we work with clients, guys, and we start to go through the assessment process, right? There's so many different programs out there, right? There's templates, there's meal plans, there's macro calculators, blah, 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 blah. All of that information is out there for free, okay? You can go get it all. Like, I'll show you exactly where to go get it. I promise you though, nutrition coaching is about so much more than here's your macros, or here's your meal plan, or whatever it may be. I promise you that the information, guys, it's everywhere. It's out there everywhere. I understand that there's a lot of it and it's hard to decipher through, but the magic is always going to be in the application of whatever that protocol is, okay? And so when we start to look into an individual, like, you're not just going to tell me your height, your age, and your weight, and then think that you're going to get a nutrition protocol from it. Like, you can get that out there, but I promise you, like, 30, 60, 90 days out, or a year out, like, you will start to experience some issues with that. So, our assessment process looks like this. When we first start off with people, we do an initial consultation, we look into everything. So, basically, they go in and talk to us about their whole entire history, all the diets that they've done, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, their medical history, what sports, what exercise they've done, the family history. There's so many different things, right? And then from there, we look into a current assessment of what their actual intake looks like. So, yes, I know a lot of people don't like logging their food in MyFitnessPal. I get it. I hate MyFitnessPal. Logging food is like one of the most annoying things in the world to me. So I get it. But it is a tool, and we do need to actually assess where your quantity is, because as much as we care about food quality, like, yes, it's extremely important. Just because you're eating good quality food all the time, you still need to look in and make sure that you're eating it in the right amount. Because sometimes people are eating way too much, sometimes people are eating way too little. You know, I use the example all the time. If I took an individual and put them on 5,000 calories of salmon and broccoli every single day, and then I put that same individual on 500 calories of salmon and broccoli, nobody's gonna argue about the food quality, right? What's the only difference? Quantity. I promise you, for most people, if you put them on 5,000 calories a day, they're probably gonna gain weight. And for most people, you put them on 500 calories a day, they're gonna start to have some of the issues that she was talking about earlier, okay? So, food quality, food quantity, both of those things really matter. And so when we start to look at the assessment portion, we do a 7-day food log, and we use MyFitnessPal or any of those other apps. We'll track on average how many calories you're taking a day for those 7 days. We'll track on average what your macronutrient count is, right? So your percentages of fats, carbs, and protein on average for those 7 days. And that gives us a starting point, right? Because just because some calculator tells you that you should be eating this, if you've been eating something that was like way more or way less before, it might not be the best idea for you to just jump right to that. Okay? Like, one, you probably, if you're eating 1,000 calories a day and you're supposed to be eating 2,000 calories a day, one, you're probably not going to be able to do it anyways. It's just going to be way too full. You're going to feel like you're stuffing your face all day. And two, I promise you, if you go from eating 1,000 calories a day to eating 2,000 calories a day, like overnight, for most people, you're probably going to actually gain weight in that first week. And if the scale affects you, you're probably going to freak out and you're going to be like, this guy's crazy, I'm out of here. Right? So, it's super important to make sure that you assess your current intake before starting anything. The other big piece that we look into is biofeedback. So this is something that you'll hear us talk about all the time. So biofeedback is another metric that we track and look at, other than just the number on the scale. How many of y'all have like started a weight loss program or wanted to lose weight, and every single day the only metric that you used was weighing yourself on the scale? I've been there before. Like, I used to do it too. What happens up here when you look at the scale and it changes every single day? It makes you crazy, right? Like, it makes you think that because you had that slice of pizza last night, that's why you weighed 3 pounds more the next day. I promise you, that's not the reason why, okay? And so when we start to look at all these different metrics to assess, when we do weigh-ins, we'll do these bi-weekly, but what we'll also do is we'll take body composition pictures once a month, right? That way you can actually see the body composition changes. Because I think for most people, you know, they might say they want to lose a certain amount of weight, but at the end of the day, like, you just all want to look good naked, I would say, for the most part, right? So if you have this set number that you wanted to weigh, and then you actually didn't get there, but you looked way better in terms of like your body composition pictures, you'd be happy, right? The number on the scale would start to become irrelevant at that point. So those are two metrics. The third metric is biofeedback. And so when we look into that, when we first start, we want to see how many hours of sleep are you getting on average. Okay? Are you having issues falling asleep at night? Are you having issues waking up throughout the night? Even to go to the bathroom at night. Like, there's so many people that are like, oh, I get up, yeah, I just go to the bathroom 3 times a night. I'm like, you understand that's not normal, right? Well, it's just because I drink so much water. No, it's not. So that's one. From there, we look into just energy level in general. So, what's your energy like for your workouts? Do you wake up in the morning ready to take on your day? Are you having midday crashes? Right? All these types of things. Then we look into digestive. How many bowel movements are you having a day on average? I cannot tell you how many people have come to me and they're like, I think I use the bathroom like once every 4 days or so. I'm like, I'm like, you realize that's a problem? They're like, no. That's a problem, right? You might have heard something different, but typically I say like 1 to 3 bowel movements a day is considered a pretty healthy like GI, like pretty regular functioning gut. So if you're not having a bowel movement every single day, like there's probably something going on. Maybe you're not eating any vegetables or fruits. Maybe your food quality is just crap. Maybe maybe your fiber intake isn't high enough. I don't know. It could be so many different things. So that's digestive, and then from there we look into, like with digestive, kind of bloatedness. Are you bloated all the time? Are there certain foods that make you bloated after eating them? You know, Brussels sprouts, I love them, but if I eat too many of them,
Do I think she's important?
well, she does. She really likes Brussels sprouts too. But no, you know, I get like bloatedness and things like that. So you'll start to like, once you actually start to recognize these things, you'll start to realize like what foods work for you and what foods don't work for you. So on and so forth. On the biofeedback, also stress levels, high, medium, low on average, right? Is it a very stressful time period in your life, right? Did you just start a new job? So think about the people that come, they're like, it's like New Year's resolution, they want to lose all this weight, but then, oh yeah, they also just started a new job and they have their kids with like all these school projects and events and all this stuff, and they're like, I want to do this, 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 and this, and they have this like all or nothing mentality, and they want to go start. It's like the 30 days to start out the year. And then after week 1, life happens. And then after week 2, life happens some more. And then before they know it, they're like, I can't do this, I don't have time for it, I need to wait. I need to wait until I can commit 100% to the program. And I think that's where we start to experience issues, because I don't think that the all or nothing mentality is what works. I don't think anybody in America has issues losing weight necessarily. I think most people have issues actually keeping the weight off and actually changing their lifestyle forever, right? So these are just some of the factors, guys, with biofeedback. Sex drive is another one. Hunger response. You know, you see people all the time that literally they won't eat all day long. They're like, I don't know, I'm never hungry. Like, you not being hungry is a very bad sign. Alright? Like, a healthy individual should be hungry. Like, every X number of hours, whatever it is for you, like, you should get hungry. Most people should wake up and be hungry. Okay? So if you have the ability to just, like, not eat all day long because you're not hungry, like, that's going to be another, like, symptom that we'll want to look into. It could be from a hormonal standpoint. It could just be out of habit, that you've just gotten into the habit of always being busy and skipping meals throughout the day. There's so many different things. So that's one of the biofeedback, or that's one of the metrics. So weight, body composition, biofeedback, that's kind of that whole or that whole initial starting assessment. Once we have all that information, then we're able to actually start to formulate a dietary protocol. And with that, it's not like it's the end all be all, right? Just because we give you a protocol, 2 weeks later, we're probably gonna tweak it a little bit. 2 weeks later, we're probably gonna tweak it a little bit more. Right? And so it's just this ever-changing evolution of, like, yes, of course you're getting accountability, but more so an education of why you're doing what you're doing throughout the process, because education drives compliance. And at the end of the day, like, me and Stephanie want this to be the last time that any of y'all ever have to hire a nutrition coach or follow some nutrition program or some diet or whatever it may be. Like, guys, half of this stuff is science, the other half is just figuring out how to work it into your lifestyle long term. So cool. Good point.
Yeah. Alright guys, I'm going to try to make this pretty quick. So food quantity and food quality, we kind of talked a little bit about it. So for the quantity side of things, who's used MyFitnessPal before? Okay, so like all of you guys. So if you guys go into MyFitnessPal, it's going to ask you age, height, weight, things like that, and it will like auto-fill macros for you. The thing with this is that they are going based off of the Academy of Nutrition Dietetics recommendations. So their recommendations are 45 to 65% carbohydrates, 10 to 30 protein, and then 20 to 30 fat. And that's based on the whole, like, you guys remember the food pyramid back like in the early 1990s where grains was like what we should eat the most of? The macro recommendations have not changed from those time periods. The Academy is just like super late on these things. You have to have enough research, blah, blah. So that's why you guys will see like kind of like odd macros sometimes, and you can like go in there and change them. But usually what I'll recommend is 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fat, and this is like based off of like an old CrossFit method that's been used for a pretty long time. And I think for most individuals, that's what suits people best. 40% carbs is like just enough to fuel you and then like to not get diabetes. You know, 30% fat is just good enough, and then 30% protein usually ends up lying around that 1 pound per gram of protein. On the protein thing, there's something I forgot to mention. If you or someone else has renal dysfunction, if you're at stage 3 or to stage 5, to the point to where you might be on dialysis, if you know someone, do not recommend that 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight to that person. Those individuals have problems excreting protein, and there can be a lot of issues if they get protein buildup in their blood. So that was just something to mention. So don't go and tell everybody out there that. Make sure they don't have kidney disease first. So yeah, that's where usually I'll go with the quantity aspect is 40, 30, 30. If you're talking about calories, The absolute best way to figure out how many calories you need is through a machine called indirect calorimetry. It's like the gold standard. However, there's like a few of these that actually exist. So there's an equation called the Mifflin-Sajor equation that you can find online, and that is around 10% accurate from that machine. So if you want to know how many calories you should be consuming, that's probably going to be your best way. Like I said, there's a website for that, and I can like spell it out for you because it's weirdly spelled. So that's where you can that's a good starting point for your quantity of how much you should be eating. As far as the quality, Justin mentioned a little bit earlier about like the whole chicken thing, you know. So I like to go based off of this pyramid of food quality because not everybody can afford to get everything like super pristine as far as food goes. So I would go like this. I would prioritize your meats first, then I would prioritize your dairy, if you consume dairy, then eggs, and then vegetables and fruit. So meats, looking at things like grass-fed versus non-grass-fed. The grass-fed whole dilemma is probably like the best proven thing I've seen out there, and as far as the studies are out there, like grass-fed meat is just like, I mean, the amount of omega-3s versus omega-6 that you're gonna get in that kind of meat is incredible versus like the pink beef you get at Walmart for $1.99 a pound. Like beef should not be pink, first of all. It should be like a nice, like wine color almost colored.
So it's not supposed to be pink slime?
No. The reason that it's pink is because it's full of nitrates. The nitrates turns the meat pink. So that's why it's pink. But yeah, it should be pink. And then, so your meats are gonna be like the first thing that you're gonna wanna focus on. Now, if you have the means, I would go into dairy. So the dairy thing, there's so many different arguments on the dairy thing too. I'm a person that says if you can consume dairy, then consume it. Usually most people know if they can tolerate dairy or not. Like it is a pretty apparent symptom if you can't tolerate it. You'll either have diarrhea, you'll either get constipated, or you'll either have you'll be bloated really bad. I think the biggest symptom though to dairy intolerance is diarrhea. If you have diarrhea after consuming dairy, do not consume it. That's like definitely you have a dairy intolerance. But dairy would be the second one, so that one, really just looking at grass-fed organic dairy would be the best thing to go for. And really the dairy that tends to not be, like, I think meat's the most expensive thing that you'll change to if you want to get a high-quality meat, and then dairy would be like the second. And then eggs, what do you guys think is better, cage-free or pasture-raised eggs?
Pasture-raised.
Pasture-raised, why?
Cage-free just means not in a cage, it could be in a box though.
Yeah, so the actual USDA guidelines of what cage-free means is like the chicken can roam in like literally I think it's about this much space. That's cage-free. But nobody goes and looks that up, right? Like you trust that cage-free means like something like this. Pasture-raised means that they're actually fully free and are roaming on grass. So pasture-raised means that they're eating grass. Instead of grains. And that's going to be huge, especially in the yolk content, because the yolk content is where you have all those great B vitamins and fat-soluble vitamins and vitamin D. Yolk is one of like the few sources of natural vitamin D that is out there in food. And you can kind of tell by the color of the yolk. The darker and richer that yellow is, the more nutrients it tends to have. And it's usually from those pasture-raised eggs. Then I would go to eggs, and then veggies and fruit. So if you guys can afford to get veggies and fruit that are organic, like go for it. But I wouldn't focus on that first. But if you are concerned about the whole organic dilemma, there is a list on the internet that's called the Dirty Dozen list. It kind of lists out what are the top 12 foods that you should be buying organic. So those are the ones that have been proven within the last year that have the highest amount of pesticides. So right now, I think strawberries are like the top of the list. And that's probably why you guys see such a difference in food, in the price of strawberries, organic versus non-organic. Because people are starting to know this now that, oh, I should be buying organic strawberries, so we're going to bump up the price on organic strawberries. I think blueberries are on there too. And then there's also, in turn, a clean dozen list. So things like asparagus, avocado, bananas, buying those organic versus non-organic, like just save a buck and don't buy organic. Usually things that have like a shell or an outer thing, an outer shell on it, those are going to be pretty protected for pesticides, like melon, too, things like that. So yeah, like I said, don't break the bank on like food quality if you can't. But if you can, start with those meats. That's where I'd start. Question.
I like to open up the whole egg white combo.
Okay. So
Yeah.
okay. So what's your like argument on it?
If you're someone that wants to consume like 6 eggs, like do you to the point where it's like that's too much yolk, too much fat to be consuming, so then I go 3 whole eggs and 3 egg whites.
So
If that's what you're trying to get for your protein source in the morning.
right. So yeah. So eggs is a great protein source. I will say the protein in the yolk is actually more bioavailable, and this is proven in any like medical nutrition book. Something else studying for my board exam the other day. Egg protein is actually like 100% most bioavailable protein out there for your body, and there's more weight of protein in the yolk than there is egg white, so it's just low fat. But if you're taking in 6 eggs per day, that's going to be around 30 grams of fat. For someone like you, I probably wouldn't be concerned about it. For someone like me, that's probably going to be a lot. But you also have to look at like the other fat that you're having throughout the day. So if like you're having, a handful of nuts throughout the day too, and you're having like a whole avocado at each meal,
Kind of like half a jar of nut butter.
or half a jar of nut butter, which is totally doable.
Paleo.
Then I would definitely maybe back off on the egg yolk. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having like 3 egg yolks and 3 egg whites, absolutely not. But if you can like afford the fat grams for your physique, then I would say go for it. Because like the egg yolks are probably one of like the most like, they're what we call the nutrition functional foods, because they offer all of these like phytochemicals and antioxidants and anthocyanins and things like that. So the more yolk you can get, I would.
How about like Addison and like raw egg?
Okay, so the thing with the raw egg, I'm glad you brought that up. Has anybody here like heard like, oh, if you're like tough as nails, you should consume raw eggs?
Oh yeah.
Right.
3 in 1 glass.
Yeah. So the thing with consuming raw eggs, you can ask any biochemistry professor, because like I think one of the first days of our biochemistry class, the professor asked us like, and he asked me because he saw that I was muscular, and asked me if I consumed raw eggs, and I said no, and he's like, okay, good, and then he settled this whole thing because there is a chemical, and you just said it. Yeah, avidin, that is in the egg white that is in it raw. And in order to destroy the avidin, you have to cook it. The thing about the avidin is that it competes for a lot of absorption of different minerals in the egg yolk, and one of the big ones is biotin. So you can't consume some of the B vitamins that are in the egg yolk if it's raw. So just don't consume it raw, it's disgusting anyways. Like there's really no like, oh, it's gonna be absorbed faster or anything like that. Like it's gonna be absorbed the same way. So yeah, definitely don't consume raw eggs.
A lot of people do like look at eggs as protein, and like you look at one large egg, most of the time it's like 4 to 5 grams of fat, 4 to 5 grams of protein. So you just have to make sure, like a lot of people are like, oh, I ate eggs as my protein source in the morning. And I'm like, cool, you got 15 grams, great. Like, right, so just like understanding that yes, eggs are a protein source, but they're also
It's not the same. So it's like using that as your primary protein for breakfast. That shouldn't be your primary protein for breakfast.
I'm just saying from a quantity standpoint, like 15 grams of protein in one of your major meals being breakfast, if that is a major meal for you, that's going to mean that you're going to have to like really eat a lot of protein at lunch and at dinner or throughout the day, like to make up. So if you're thinking about like breakfast, lunch, and dinner and just kind of evenly breaking up your meals throughout the day, if you only have 3 eggs there, for most people that's going to probably end up leaving you like low on protein for the day. And then with the cholesterol, it's just like looking more at like total body cholesterol, not just coming from the eggs. Because eggs will get a bad rap just from the cholesterol thing, but it's more like total body.
Yes, so it's kind of, or maybe just like more specifically, like fitness or eating habits. You have to drink. What should you drink?
Here's the alcohol conversation right here. Super quick. Y'all are all grown adults. if you want to have alcohol, like everybody in this room I think could agree that alcohol is not going to make you feel better or look better or perform better. Right?
Yeah, disagree.
You're right. All right. When you go out on Friday night, Saturday night, whatever, yes, I understand it makes you feel better until the next morning. So guys, with alcohol intake, I look at it way more in terms of like the number of occurrences, right? Like if you're like, think about the people that have, oh, I just have one glass of wine with my wife or husband each night. And I'm like, yeah, you're having alcohol every day of the week. Like just because you have one, like it's so much more about the number of occurrences. We won't go into this now, but if you look into like alcohol metabolism and you start to understand what happens in that process, I promise you want to keep the number of occurrences down. With that said, and what we're going to go into with the lifestyle side of things, like trying to like completely ban alcohol from your life or feeling guilty about it or whatever it may be, like guys, save the alcohol for the social setting so you're not that awkward person. Like enjoy your life, like have fun with your friends and family. I promise you that the majority of the people that feel guilty in those social settings is because they're not doing things right the majority of the time. Okay? So if you have these social outings once or twice a week, like you're gonna be okay. If you're doing things right the rest of the time, like I don't think you have to shy away from alcohol necessarily. At the same time though, try not to be an a-hole to yourself and just like binge, right? We've all been there before. Alright guys, cool. So aesthetics and performance. This is something that is misunderstood, I guess I would say. So a lot of, like everybody in this world wants to have amazing performance and they want to look amazing. Everybody sees the CrossFit Game competitors and they're like, well, they're at the all-time performance in their sport and they look amazing. So why can't I do that? One, you're not working out 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And two, most of these people have been an athlete like that their whole entire life. Okay? So when you start to look into what needs to happen in order to lose fat, so for a lot of people they're trying to lose body fat, you have to be in a calorie deficit in order to make that happen. So it doesn't matter if you're doing paleo or keto or intermittent fasting or any of the diets under the sun. Even if I got all those creators in this room, we would sit there and argue with each other for about 10 minutes, and then at the end of the day, we would come to an agreement that regardless of the diet, you have to be in a calorie deficit to lose body fat. Like that's fat. Okay, and that's why we address calories. Everyone talks about calories in, calories out. Like, yes, it's not as simple as that, but at the same time, you do need to acknowledge where your calorie intake is at. So with that said, if you're somebody that's trying to lose body fat and you're over here like thinking that, man, I just need to work out more, eat less, sometimes that's not the actual route, right? Like we want to make sure that y'all feel really good in your workouts, so you need to make sure you really prioritize those pre and post workout meals. Also those other lifestyle factors. But when you start to look into the goal of aesthetics, you need to realize like what comes, like what that entails. Okay? Like if you're trying to lose body fat and you're not tracking your quantity numbers at all, like do that assessment first and make sure that you know where your calorie intake is at on average. And then look into these calculations. We'll share those with y'all here in a bit. But look into those calculations and see what that recommendation is based on fat loss or maintenance level or trying to increase muscle mass. Okay? So being in a calorie deficit, being at maintenance mode, or being in a calorie surplus, that's going to be the difference of calorie deficit, burn body fat, maintenance or surplus for this performance setting, and then if you're wanting to actually increase muscle mass, put on weight, right, now we need to be in that surplus of calories. So it's just understanding, like, is your goal aesthetics or is your goal performance? For most people, it's both. But when you look into the CrossFit setting, when you look into the CrossFit year, what did we just get done with? That most people did. The open, right? That would be the performance time of the year for y'all. I don't really, like, for most people, if you care about the open whatsoever, the open is not the time for you to lose body fat. You're not getting points. You're not increasing up the leaderboard because of your body fat number. Nobody cares, right? It's just like at the CrossFit Games. How many of those athletes get points for having a six-pack? None of them. And how many of those bodybuilders and physique athletes and bikini competitors get points for being the fittest on the stage? None of them, right? So it's just this spectrum of understanding, like where are you at this time in your life? This time right now after the open would be an amazing time for us, and it's summer, right? This would be an amazing time for us to start focusing in on if you have body composition or aesthetic goals to lose body fat during this time. You also need to understand that if you're working out like 6-7 days a week and you're just killing yourself, well yeah, being in a calorie deficit is not gonna make you feel amazing in your workouts. Okay, you're in a calorie deficit. That does not foster performance or recovery whatsoever. Okay, so if you look into your whole year and you're like, hey, I'm gonna do the open, I wanna make sure that I'm the fittest at the open, cool. Like, let's make sure that right after the open, those 3-4 months, we focus in on losing the body fat, changing the body composition, the aesthetic side of things. Let's focus on that goal then. Once we get you there, cool. Now let's slowly start working you back up and start focusing on performance again, leading you into the open. Like, that would be a very appropriate way of looking at periodization and how to look at your whole entire year in general. Okay, cool. So metabolic adaptation. Has anybody ever heard this word before? It's not really like something that's it's not necessarily accepted in the medical community, I would say. But metabolic adaptation, basically what this is think about, if any of y'all have ever gone through this, think about the people that are sitting here working out all the time, and they just keep working out more and more and more, and just keep eating less and less and less. Or, let's think about Stephanie if she would have stayed on that low-fat diet for 3 more years. Okay? These are the people that come to us that they're metabolically adapted. So what that means is, even though they do the calculation and they're in a calorie deficit, they should be losing body fat, but nothing's happening. Right? And so that's when their doctor's like, you just need to work out more and eat less. Well, no, I'm eating 1,000 calories a day, working out 5 days a week, and nothing's happening. Right? So this would be an example of metabolic adaptation, and this would be an example of basically your hormone levels have just slowly lowered on being basically overtraining, under eating for too long of a time. Your body has adapted to the ability to be able to live off of X number of calories. Okay? And so there's a process that will take people through sometimes in the appropriate situation that's called reverse dieting. And all that simply is if somebody comes to me and they've been working out, overtraining, under eating, they're sitting here only eating 1,000 calories a day or whatever, and they're not losing body fat and they're doing things consistently, well, that's when we have to look into it and we gotta say, look, I'm not gonna lower your calories even more. Obviously that's not doing anything for you, that's just gonna make you feel even more like crap. So I gotta slowly reverse diet you up, I gotta slowly start working your calories up back to maintenance level calories. There's 3 types of situations with this. There's people that are hyper responders. So I'll give you an example. I have a client, regional athlete, overtraining, under eating, not even knowing that. But again, she has the mindset of like how it used to be in the day. Oh, most girls only eat this many calories. Yeah, well, you're not most girls. You're competing at regionals. You're an athlete, right? So looking into her, that was actually something where she was overtraining, under eating. We slowly reversed dieted her up. And you know what happened? Calories went up. Weight went down, she felt way better, she was performing way better, she was recovering way better, her sleep was way better. So basically, it doesn't really make sense, right? Calories went up, weight went down. Typically, that's not what happens, right? Most of the time what will happen is you'll see somebody that maybe as we work them up in calories, we'll get them back up to a point of maintenance, and they'll either stay exactly where they're at from a weight standpoint, or they'll gain a little bit of weight. But if you're somebody that's been stuck for 3, 4, 5 years, at a weight, and you've been starving yourself, wouldn't you be okay to gain maybe 5 pounds to then be able to lose 15, 20, 30? Like if I told you you're gonna gain 5 pounds during a reverse diet process, but then from there, you're gonna lose 20, 30, something like that, like most people would be okay with that. But it's the psychology of getting people to understand that they have to actually fix themselves first before they can start changing their body composition again. It's a very, very hard concept to not only coach through, like if you come to me and you want to lose body fat and I tell you that, like we do the assessment and you have all these issues and I tell you that you're actually probably going to gain a little bit of body fat first before you're able to lose it, that's not sexy. Like you probably don't want to sign up in case somebody might make that happen. But what will happen is maybe you won't do it, right? And maybe you'll try those other fad diets, maybe you'll just keep digging yourself even deeper into a rabbit hole, and then eventually you'll have no choice. So you either stay that way and be metabolically adapted, or you'll have to fix it in order to basically regain your life again. It goes into hormones and all that stuff too, but basically just want to kind of throw that out there and just let you know that if you are somebody, guys, that you're working out all the time, like you just keep lowering your calories more and more and more, you're feeling like you don't ever have energy, your sleep's starting to get affected, your sex drive's starting to get affected, blah, 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 blah. Well, take a look at where your quantity's at. Check out one of these calculations, and you might be actually surprised that you're significantly under eating. So if that's the case, that's when you want to look into, okay, well maybe this is a reverse diet protocol situation for me. Okay. Cool. All right, lifestyle. So really kind of touched on this with the alcohol piece. Guys, I think the biggest thing we see like with clients and the lifestyle side of things is just not being able to, like when they start on a diet or a coaching program or whatever it may be, feeling that they have to be perfect in order to get results, right? Feeling like they can't go out and enjoy Memorial Day weekend like we just had, right? Maybe nobody in this room stresses about that, but I cannot tell you how many clients that it literally gives them anxiety, it stresses them out, it causes so many issues around these holidays, okay? So it all goes back to like doing things right the majority of the time and then being able to enjoy the holidays with your friends and family, okay? When it comes to like if you're somebody that's tracking your food, like if you go on vacation, take a break from tracking your food, like enjoy yourself. If you're out at a dinner with friends and family or lunch or whatever, like don't be that person that like pulls out your phone, you're like watching your food. Like you're gonna create a socially awkward situation for yourself, okay? Take a picture of it real quick, don't let anybody see you, and then just log it later. Or just don't even log it. Just say, hey, I was out and about, and just pick back up on that next meal. I think at the end of the day though, like you have to, regardless of what calculation you do, whatever diet you do, whatever exercise program you do, you have to find something that actually works for your lifestyle long term. Because guys, I understand you can do it for 30 days, or 60 days, or 90 days, but I care so much more about what happens when I see you a year down the road, right? Like every client that we ever work with, if they have success a year, 3 years, 5 years down the road, like we're doing our job. Like we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Because there's so much confusion out here with nutrition. And at the end of the day, people are just lost. Like, you know, you hear all this stuff that we've been talking about, and for a lot of people, it's probably like going over your head. You're like, hey, I just left this nutrition seminar, I don't even know what to do, right? So, the application of what like we're about to talk about here and kind of go into is kind of going to be some of the big takeaway points. Anything? Okay, biofeedback, we tapped in on that. Periodization, we tapped in on that. So yeah, guys, from here, this is your action steps, okay? One, we would obviously love to work with any of y'all. Action steps on your own would be this. If you've never done this self-assessment that we were talking about right now, do it, okay? How many days a week are you working out on average? Track your food for 7 days on MyFitnessPal. See on average how many calories you're taking in, on average how many macros you're taking in, okay? Also assess what your food quality is, okay? Assess your hydration, assess your alcohol intake, assess all those biofeedback markers, right? With the sleep and the digestive and all these things. And if you see any red flags at all, or if you do the calculation and your number is just way off from what it was supposed to be, then that's going to be like your starting step. I think for most of us, we can all sit here and ask ourselves, what is the one thing that we continuously do that are inhibiting us from reaching our goals, right? What's my worst habit? Is it chronically not getting enough sleep each night? Is it chronically drinking too much alcohol? Is it working out way too much? Is it going out to eat way too much? Right? All of us have that one thing that will move us forward. So I would honestly just say, like, start with that. Identify what that worst habit is for you, and for the next 2 weeks, make it a point to do it right, to fix that issue, to fix that habit every single day for the next 2 weeks. And if you do that, phenomenal. Now identify the next bad habit that you have, the next issue that's preventing you from reaching your goals. And just keep going on like that. I mean, I think that's one of the easiest, most simplistic ways to go about the process, because for most of us, all or nothing mentality, we want the whole entire plan right at the beginning, and we just want to go head in, right? And then 30 days later, life happens, and here we are again, yo-yoing, trying something else, trying something new, and it's just not fun. Let's just get it figured out and then be able to live our lives and have fun and not have to think about all this crazy nutrition stuff all the time anymore. Alright? Awesome. Alright. Q&A? Questions? I'm like sweating my butt off. I'm obviously drinking coffee.
Finally dry after an hour and a half of sitting on my hands.
Yeah, y'all are dry and I'm sweating. Cool. What questions do we have, guys? Anything. Don't be scared. Ask away. Somebody has to not be robotic.
I don't know how to work this is, but I try to do that kind as much as I can. but I have my cheat days. And I've noticed when I have 1 or 2 cheat days in a row, it's terrible. It's like I'm losing weight. I mean, pants are looser, my shirts are looser, and I go right back on trying to back in.
So you basically do a refeed on the weekend? So basically you like diet during the week and then you have 2 cheat days in a row?
As far as sort of weekend, it's dependent on what happens just in life. You know, somebody brings in a bunch of donuts for others, or, you know, there's bad burgers, you know, some type of trigger, and they're like, I want the rest. You know, we're all human.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like,
it's like I'm losing, it's almost like I lose weight when I just carb load for like a day or two.
Yeah.
Then it just comes whirling back and forth.
yeah. No, I mean, you'll see that in a reverse diet protocol a lot, or in refeeds, where basically refeeds are just increasing your carbohydrates for a day or for a weekend or whatever it may be.
So is that normal?
It's not necessarily normal, but I do see it. Yeah. It just depends, right? Like I can do a refeed with one person and they might lose weight, or they might stay the same, and they might gain weight. And that's why like really weighing yourself day to day is more of a just messes with your mind than anything. Like to be able to look in and say, hey, like I had a cheat weekend and now I weigh less. I mean, it's just so hard to figure out what exactly happened and why that happened.
I would almost like weigh yourself after those cheat days and see what the difference
I mean, are you feeling it or you're weighing yourself and seeing it?
No, it's like, you know, if I got a pair of shorts and I don't need a button normally, all of a sudden I need a button. It's pretty obvious.
I mean, if that happens in 2 days, I don't know. I would say weigh yourself. Like, weigh yourself the day before you do that, and then weigh yourself after, and then see what happens. Again, like, the day-to-day numbers on the scale, it just doesn't matter. Like, data points, like, weighing yourself every 2 weeks, like, you're gonna have so many weigh-ins where you maybe lose weight or stay the same, or maybe even gain weight. You can do everything right and maybe even gain weight. So, as long as we look at this graph of weigh-ins and we see you just slowly trending in the right direction,
Shouldn't you wake yourself first thing in the morning as soon as you wake up and you evacuate that out?
Yes.
You know, and then you weigh yourself to try to get a consistent daily number.
yeah, I mean, that's what we tell clients, to weigh yourself in the morning and consistently weigh yourself not only on the same scale, but also the similar time. Yes. Question? Yes, sir.
Like snack during the day. I work at a hospital, you know,
Feel your pain. Well, I mean, my wife's a nurse too.
yeah.
It's not bad. It's not good or bad.
Like, is there a way you say snack a day and have
That doesn't matter. Like the people are like, oh, you need 5. This is another thing that you should hear all the time. You need to eat 5 to 6 like bodybuilding world. You need to eat 5 to 6 meals a day to keep the metabolism up. Like you can eat like it's what I would say is it's so much more about the person, the individual, and their workout schedule, their work schedule, their lifestyle. Like if you told me that you want to eat 2 times a day and you can do that every single day and that's what works best for you, cool. Let's figure out a way to make that work. Or if you love your snacks and you want to have whatever 3 meals and snacks in between, cool. Let's figure out how to make that work. There's not really like a set like you have to have this many meals a day or this many snacks. It's more about just what works best for you. And at the end of the day, those total quantities for the day, right?
Yeah, I think the big thing with snacking, especially in the hospital setting, is looking at 2 things: is how much are you snacking and what are you snacking on. Yeah, because even like the dietitians that I worked with all this past year, like I mean, they snack throughout the day. When we get free food at Cafe Press, we get Presbyterian Hospital, and I mean like their snacks were like a lot of cookies, Diet Coke is another snack, like things like that. So snacking can go a long way. Like 3 chips out of the chip bag can easily become a whole bag. So I would say like the best way to go about snacking is planning what you're going to snack and portion size it. I mean, if it's portion size and it's like good food, nobody should feel guilty about snacking.
And if you're like, I mean, let's say for instance, like you work days or nights or days. So let's say for instance, like you have a 12-hour shift, right? So let's say lunch, it's always busy that time. You always find yourself skipping lunch because of whatever. Like you just need to identify that and say, I almost always skip lunch because I'm so busy. cool. Well, you need to really prioritize breakfast and dinner in terms of like those major meals and actually being able to get enough calories. The biggest thing I see with like people like nurses, shift workers, anything like that is gonna be under eating on the day they work. Yeah. Or just eating crap. Cool. Good question, good question. Just saw you. What else, guys?
What's the best way to get in contact with you if you want to take some personal steps after this?
Yeah, so as far as website and all that stuff, guys, if you go on our website, it's just justinmurphynutrition.com. Both of our Instagrams, justinmurphy_Jmin, Stephanie_Jmin. Facebook, our Facebook group's free. Like we post stuff on there all the time. We do Facebook Lives all the time. It's just Justin Murphy Nutrition Facebook group. And other than that, if any of y'all are interested in looking more into actual getting individualized coaching, just I guess come up to us right now. We'll talk. We'll give y'all email addresses and then we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, basically those next steps, what that would look like, guys, is let's say for instance we started the assessment on Monday.